There are some fairy tales that end with happily ever after. This is not one of them. This is the story of a little girl who spent her entire life searching for warmth. Not the warmth of a fire, not the warmth of the sun, but the warmth of being loved. And even when the world gave her every reason to stop, she kept going. Because somewhere deep inside her heart, a tiny flame still burned. The winter that year was the coldest anyone could remember. Snow covered the rooftops like white blankets, and icy winds howled through the narrow streets of the city. People hurried home before sunset, eager to sit beside warm fireplaces and share meals with their families. But at the edge of the town stood a small, crumbling house where warmth rarely stayed for long. Its roof leaked. Its walls trembled whenever the wind blew. And inside lived a little girl named Alara. She was only 8 years old. Yet she had already learned that life could be colder than winter itself. Still, there was one place in that house where warmth always remained. It sat beside a small fireplace. And there, every evening, waited her grandmother. "Come here, little spark," the old woman would say with a smile. The girl would run into her arms, and for a little while, the cold outside no longer mattered. Because whenever her grandmother was near, the world felt warm again. There had once been another source of warmth in the house. Her mother, Alara, barely remembered her face now. Only fragments remained, a gentle voice, soft hands brushing her hair, a lullaby sung beside the fireplace. Then one day, she was gone. No goodbye, no explanation, only silence. As years passed, Alara began to understand what the townspeople whispered behind closed doors. Her mother had grown tired of hunger, tired of poverty, tired of watching every winter steal another piece of their lives. And so she left. Some said she had gone south. Others claimed she had remarried. No one truly knew. The only thing certain was that she never came back. For a long time, Alara waited by the window. Every snowfall, every spring, every summer, she hoped to see her mother walking down the road. But the road remained empty, and eventually, waiting became another kind of pain. Her father changed after that. At first, he searched for his wife, then he stopped. At first he spoke, then he grew silent. At first he smiled, then even that disappeared. He spent his days staring into nothing, and his nights drowning himself in bitterness. Though he lived beneath the same roof as his daughter, he seemed farther away than the stars. Sometimes entire days passed without him saying a single word to her. Sometimes he forgot she was even there. Alara tried to understand, but a child can only carry so much loneliness before it begins to feel heavy. Fortunately, she still had her grandmother. Whenever tears filled her eyes, the old woman would pull her close and whisper, "Even in the darkest winter, little spark, a single flame can survive." At the time, Alara did not fully understand what those words meant, but she never forgot them. One evening, snow fell softly beyond the window. Alara sat beside the fireplace while her grandmother carefully added another piece of wood to the flames. The fire crackled warmly. Golden light danced across the room. "Nana," Alara asked, "why do people love fire so much?" "Because fire keeps us alive." The old woman smiled. Alara nodded. That answer seemed obvious. "No, little spark, not this fire." But her grandmother shook her head. She gently placed a hand over the girl's chest. "This one." "The fire inside us." Alara looked down in confusion. Her grandmother nodded. "Everyone carries a flame in their heart. A flame hope," the old woman said. "Courage, love, the strength to keep walking when life becomes difficult." The girl stared into the dancing flames. "And what if it goes out?" For a moment the old woman was silent. Then she smiled and pulled Alara into her arms. "If your flame ever grows weak, remember those who love you. And if it begins to fade," she kissed the girl's forehead, "I'll help you light it again." Winter returned once more. But this time, something felt different. Her grandmother moved more slowly, coughed more often, and spent longer hours resting beside the fireplace. One night, as snow fell beyond the window, Alara curled beside her grandmother's chair. "Nana, tell me a story." "One last story before bed," the old woman smiled. She pointed toward the fire. Long ago, people believed every flame carried a memory. A memory. Alara's eyes widened. The old woman nodded. That is why fire feels warm. It remembers every hand it has ever warmed. It remembers every lost traveler it has guided home. It remembers every lonely soul who sat beside it. The flames danced quietly between them. And when we are gone, Alara asked. The old woman gazed into the fire. For a moment, sadness crossed her face. Then perhaps a small part of us remains within the flame. The girl leaned against her shoulder, listening, safe, loved. Neither of them knew that this would be the last story they would ever share together. The first snow of December arrived quietly. Alara woke before sunrise and immediately knew something was wrong. The house felt strange, too quiet, too still. She hurried toward her grandmother's chair beside the fireplace. Nana, no answer. The old woman sat exactly where she had fallen asleep the night before. Her hands rested peacefully in her lap. A faint smile lingered on her face, as though she had simply drifted into a pleasant dream. Nana. Alara touched her hand. It was cold, colder than winter, colder than snow. For a long moment, the little girl stood frozen, unable to understand, unable to accept what her heart already knew. The fire still burned in the hearth, but the warmth was gone. The funeral was small. Few people attended. Most had their own struggles to worry about. The old woman was buried beneath a blanket of fresh snow at the edge of the town cemetery. Alara stood silently beside the grave, watching as the last handfuls of earth disappeared beneath white frost. Her father stood nearby, expressionless, silent, detached. He did not cry. He did not speak. And when the ceremony ended, he simply turned and walked away, leaving his daughter standing alone beside the grave. That night, Alara sat beside the fireplace. The chair opposite her remained empty. For years, her grandmother's voice had filled the room. Now there was only silence. She stared into the flames, waiting, hoping, almost expecting her grandmother to appear once more and say, "Come here, little spark." But the chair remained empty, and no voice came. The weeks that followed were the hardest Alara had ever known. Without her grandmother, the house seemed colder. Her father rarely spoke to her. Some days he stayed in bed until sunset. Other days he disappeared into town and returned long after dark. The small savings her grandmother had, hidden away, quickly vanished. Food became scarce. Firewood became precious. Many nights the fireplace remained unlit. Alara often wrapped herself in old blankets and sat in darkness, listening to the wind whistle through the cracks in the walls. Whenever fear threatened to overwhelm her, she remembered her grandmother's words. Everyone carries a flame in their heart: hope, courage, love, the strength to keep walking. So she whispered those words to herself, again and again, as though repeating them could keep the cold away. One evening, while cleaning beneath her grandmother's bed, Alara discovered a small wooden box. Dust covered its surface. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside lay dozens of simple matches, nothing more. No jewels, no money, no secret treasures, only matches. Tucked beneath them was a folded piece of paper written in her grandmother's handwriting. The girl carefully unfolded it and read, "For my little spark, there may come a day when the world feels colder than you can bear. When loneliness sits beside you, when grief feels heavier than stone. If that day comes, remember this. A flame does not ask the darkness for permission to shine. It simply burns. Keep your fire alive. Love, Nana." By the time she finished reading, tears blurred the ink. She pressed the note against her chest. Winter tightened its grip on the city. Food grew scarcer. Money disappeared. One morning, Alara awoke to find several boxes stacked near the door. Matches, hundreds of them. Her father stood beside the table. "Take them." "What?" The girl's brow furrowed. "Sell them." His voice was flat, emotionless. "If we don't earn money, we don't eat. They won't buy from me." Alara stared at the boxers. "Then try harder." The words struck harder than any slap. Not because they were cruel, but because they were empty. As though he were speaking to a stranger. not his daughter. That afternoon, Alara walked into town carrying her first box of matches. Snow drifted through the streets. People hurried past. No one stopped, no one smiled, no one noticed. Yet, despite the cold, despite the loneliness, despite the fear growing inside her chest, she remembered the note. A flame does not ask the darkness for permission to shine. It simply burns. So, she lifted her head and continued walking. Days turned into weeks. Weeks became months. And gradually, Alara learned something no child should ever have to learn. People could look directly at you and still not see you. Every morning she carried boxes of matches through the city. Every morning she called out to strangers. "Matches, sir. Matches, made." Only a few coins. Most never answered. Some shook their heads. Others simply walked around her as though she were part of the street itself. A shadow, a piece of snow, a thing, not a child, not a person. Alara had stopped expecting kindness. She had stopped expecting conversation. She had learned how to smile even when her heart hurt, because smiles sold more matches. One cold afternoon, Alara stopped outside a bakery. Warm, golden light spilled through the glass. Inside, families sat together eating fresh bread and sweet pastries. Children laughed, parents smiled. A little girl about her age sat beside her mother. The woman brushed flour from the child's cheek and kissed her forehead. The gesture lasted only a second, but Alara could not look away. Something tightened painfully inside her chest. A longing so old, it felt like part of her bones. For a moment, she imagined her grandmother sitting beside her, smiling, calling her little spark. Then the bakery door opened. Warm air escaped into the street. The scent of bread drifted past her, and just as quickly, the door closed again. The warmth disappeared, leaving only winter. Day by day, business grew worse. People spent their money preparing for the holidays. Few cared about a girl selling matches. One evening, Alara returned home carrying almost every box she had left with. Her father sat at the table, waiting. "How much?" She opened her hand. A single coin. Silence filled the room. Then came the sound of the chair scraping against the floor. Her father stood. For a moment, fear tightened around her heart, but he said nothing. He simply turned away and disappeared into the darkness of the house. The silence hurt more than anger, more than shouting, because it felt like surrender, as though even he had stopped believing she mattered. More than shouting, because it felt like surrender, as though even he had stopped believing she mattered. That night, Alara sat alone beside the cold fireplace, holding her grandmother's note, reading the same words over and over. "Keep your fire alive." She wondered how much longer she could. That night she dreamed of spring-green fields, blue skies, birdsong. She dreamed of running through wildflowers while her grandmother laughed beside her. For a while, everything felt warm again. Then she woke. The room was dark. The fireplace was empty. Snow rattled against the window, and reality returned. Yet something remained from the dream. A feeling, a memory, a tiny spark. The kind her grandmother used to speak about. The kind that refused to die, no matter how fiercely winter tried to extinguish it. So Alara rose from bed, put on her worn coat, picked up her matches, and faced another day. The final day of the year arrived beneath a sky the color of steel. Snow fell harder than ever before. By afternoon, the streets were already buried beneath white drifts. Throughout the city, preparations for the new year were underway. Windows glowed with candlelight. Tables overflowed with food. Church bells echoed across the rooftops. Everywhere Alara looked, people were gathering with those they loved. And everywhere she looked, she stood alone. Before leaving that morning, her father handed her one final box. It was larger than the others, filled with matches. "Sell them," that was all he said. No "good luck." No "be careful." No "come home soon." Just 2 words. Sell them. As dusk settled over the city, Alara walked through the snow. The wooden box pressed tightly against her chest. The wind howled around her. The streets slowly emptied. One by one, doors closed. One by one, Windows darkened. A terrible thought entered her mind. What if this winter is stronger than my fire? She immediately pushed the thought away, because somewhere deep inside her heart, she could still hear her grandmother's voice. Keep your fire alive, little spark. Keep it alive. Night settled over the city. The streets were nearly empty now. Snow swirled through the darkness like wandering ghosts. Elara's fingers had grown numb, her feet ached, her stomach twisted with hunger. Yet she had not sold a single match. Not one. At last, she found shelter between two buildings where the wind could not reach her as is. She curled into herself, shivering. The box of matches rested in her lap. For a long time she stared at it. Then slowly, she removed a single match. The old wooden stick trembled between her fingers. Nana? The whisper escaped her lips before she realized it. Then she struck the match. A tiny flame appeared. Small, fragile, beautiful. Golden light flickered across her face. And suddenly, she was no longer sitting in an alley. She was sitting beside the fireplace. The one from her childhood. The one Nana always kept burning. The room glowed with warmth. The chair stood beside the hearth. The blankets, the kettle, the smell of wood smoke. Every detail was exactly as she remembered. For one precious moment, she felt warm. Then the match burned out. Darkness returned, and the alley was cold once more. Her hands trembled. From longing. Carefully, Elara lit a second match. The flame sprang to life, and once again the darkness melted away. This time she saw herself as a little girl, laughing, running around the room while Nana chased her. She could hear the laughter, hear the joy, hear a version of herself that had not existed for years. The vision changed. Another memory appeared, her grandmother teaching her to stir soup. Another, her grandmother brushing snow from her hair. Another, her grandmother wrapping a blanket around her shoulders. Memory after memory danced within the flame, and in every single one, there was love. Pure, simple, unconditional love. The match burned lower, the memories faded. But before they disappeared completely, Elara heard a familiar voice, soft, gentle, warm. You're doing well, little spark. The flame vanished, leaving tears on her cheeks. The cold was becoming unbearable now. Every breath hurt, every movement felt heavier than the last. Still, Elara reached for another match, then another. Each flame revealed something different. Not food, not riches, not castles, but moments, the things that had carried her through life. A smile, a story, a hand holding hers, a voice telling her she mattered. And suddenly she understood. The matches were never showing her dreams. They were showing her fire. The fire Nana had spent years building inside her. Every act of kindness, every story, every embrace, every word of encouragement, all of it had become fuel. Fuel that had carried her through loneliness, through hunger, through abandonment, through grief. A weak smile touched her lips. Despite everything, she had survived. Longer than anyone knew, longer than anyone expected, because Nana had been right. A single flame could survive even the darkest winter. The realization filled her heart with warmth. For the first time in a very long while, she felt proud. Only one match remained, the final one. Snow had begun settling on her shoulders, on her hair, on the box resting beside her. Elara stared at the last match for a long time. Then she smiled, a peaceful smile, and struck it against the box. The flame blossomed, brighter than all the others, warmer, softer, and there she was, Nana, standing before her, not a memory, not a dream, at least not one that felt like a dream. The old woman looked exactly the same gentle eyes, the same warm smile, the same comforting presence. Elara's breath caught in her throat. Nana. The old woman knelt before her. Oh, my little spark. The words shattered something inside her. Tears streamed down her face. I tried. Her voice broke. I really tried. Nana cupped her cheek and smiled. I know. I kept the fire alive. You did. Sometimes it was hard. I know. I wanted to give up. I know. The old woman brushed away her tears, and her smile grew even warmer. But you didn't. Alara began to cry openly now. Years of loneliness, years of pain, years of carrying burdens no child should ever carry. All of it poured out at once. And through it all, Nana simply held her, just as she always had, just as she always would. The final match burned lower, its light slowly fading, yet for the first time, Alara was not afraid. Because Nana was still there, holding her hand, keeping her warm. Nana, yes, little spark. The girl looked up, her eyes shining with tears. What happens when the fire goes out? The old woman smiled, the same smile she had worn beside the fireplace years ago. The fire never goes out, but the match. The little girl frowned. The match is only a flame, Nana whispered. The fire is you. Then Nana opened her arms, and Alara stepped forward. Into the embrace she had missed for so many years. Warmth flooded through her. The warmth of being loved. The warmth of finally coming home. And slowly, the winter disappeared. The alley disappeared. The city disappeared. Everything disappeared, except the light. The next morning, townspeople found a little girl resting peacefully between two buildings. Snow covered her like a blanket. A faint smile remained on her face. Beside her lay an empty box of matches. The people shook their heads sadly. Poor child. She must have been trying to keep warm. Then they continued on with their lives, never knowing what she had seen, or how bravely she had fought, never knowing how fiercely her fire had burned. But somewhere beyond the reach of winter, a little spark walked hand in hand with her grandmother.